Live from the Rocky Mountains, welcome into Redacted on this Tuesday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
Whoop.
What's going on there?
I accidentally hit the disclaimer again, so just give it a second.
Just you have to have two disclaimers today.
Disclaimers.
That's the kind of show we're going to run, you guys.
Oh, God. There we go.
Okay, good. All right. Welcome, everyone, to welcome to Redacted on this Tuesday. I'm Clayton Morris.
Amateur Hour. I'm Natalie Morris.
I know. Hey, welcome in, everyone. And finally, Congress is a group of amateurs, but finally put on their big boy pants today and finally voted to release the Epstein files. Of course, now it will go to the Senate, I guess, and that will have to then another round of chicanery on that side. But we got a yes vote, 427-1. Representative Clay Higgins saying a principled no vote on releasing the Epstein files because too many innocent people will get hurt in this dragnet. So we've got a lot to unpack today. Ann Coulter is going to be joining us here on the show today.
For the first time, we're really excited about it. Now, while that vote was happening, the president was spending time with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. We're going to go through why exactly he has to do that, why it's impossible for the U.S. to, as Joe Biden tried to make a pariah of Saudi Arabia. It may surprise you that ultimately it is not good for you. It's a theft of the working class. And I'm going to show you how this cozy relationship with Saudi Arabia, it's not a $1 trillion investment. It's actually a theft from your paycheck. And I'll show you how.
Also, DHS yesterday announcing a new task force to go after and look for those 450,000 missing children that were trafficked under the Biden administration at the helm of Alejandro Mayorkas, who facilitated the sale, the trafficking of these children across our borders into homes where they get like the so-called wellness check. When the wellness check is hilarious because as we've talked to whistleblowers who say all they had to do was call one time, and if no one even answered the phone, that's good. That's your wellness check. Where are these 450,000 children in the United States? Are they even alive? We're going to speak to an HHS whistleblower who had been blowing the whistle to the Biden administration for years, and they didn't even listen to her. And we're going to hear from an Pfizer executive who says the pandemic was all one big lie, and he knew it at the time, and he was telling everyone about it. They blocked and censored him. So we're going to talk about all of that today on the show.
That's right. And I apologize I didn't mean that Philip is an amateur. Sometimes we are all knuckleheads.
Oh, that was definitely amateur on my part.
I would never say that to you.
David's like, what happened? I said, my hands lost their mind. I don't know what happened. I just started hitting buttons.
We're all a little nervous, you guys. Ann Coulter is here. It's our first time Clayton knows her, but I do not. So maybe we're all just a little bit jumpy. But we're going to get to that in a second.
Speak for yourself. I'm calm as a cucumber.
Are you?
No, what I love about Ann is you never know. Like she would come on our old show on Fox and Friends, and like Tucker and I would get to see her and hang out with, and you kind of had an idea what she might say, and then she'd blow your mind by the time you're like halfway through the interview. You're like, you just blew my mind.
Like, what just happened?
What just happened?
Yeah.
It's 6 a.m. How are you blowing my mind this early in the morning? Anyway, we're going to talk to Ann in a second. But first, we got to talk some health news. We got to pay the bills around here because microplastics infiltrating every part of our lives. Scientists estimate we now consume a credit card's worth of plastic every single week. It's not delicious. You get it through your food, you get it through your water, you get it through your air that you breathe. One study found plastic particles in 100% of the human lung samples that they sampled. Nobody is safe from exposure. But there is good news because new studies show that, in fact, you can actually take in basic natural products like kimchi and have it eliminated from your body. You can actually get rid of this stuff right from your body. And that's the beauty of trying kimchi. And our friends from Brightcore have created something called Kimchi One, because a lot of people maybe don't like the taste of kimchi. Unlike me, I love it. Philip loves it. But a lot of people are like, I don't like that smell. Now you can take it in supplement form. It's packaged with over 900 probiotic strains unique to kimchi and proven to break down BPA, helping you detox from the inside out. It doesn't just support digestion. It helps protect your cells, your brain, your hormones, and your future. Your body was never designed to handle plastic, but your gut was designed to protect you. So right now you can get 25% off. Just go to mybrightcore.com/redacted. I take it every morning as part of my supplements. Yes, I am. That's why I'm so healthy. You're looking at the model of health right here. And for an even better deal, the best thing is you can call our friends. Imagine that, an American company that actually wants to talk to you on the phone, and you'll get up to 50% off and free shipping. That phone number is 888-404-6312.
Well, the House of Representatives just passed the bill to force the release of the Epstein files, and now it heads to the Senate, and the president has committed to passing it if it does reach his desk. It did not get altered, even though House Speaker Mike Johnson said he wanted to. Again, it's worth noting that the bill does allow the Justice Department to make redactions if they are related to a current investigation, and odd timing, but the Justice Department has said, yes, we are going to open a brand new investigation. That was confirmed by Attorney General Pam Bondi, saying that she has assigned U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton to lead the renewed Epstein investigations, despite the fact that he has relationships to people who are named in the Epstein. Okay, fine. No one else was available, I suppose. So what can we expect from this bill, this information release? Joining us to discuss is Ann Coulter. She's been warning about this for years. And in fact, she even shows up in the Epstein emails. Here is Epstein saying, Ann Coulter keeps writing about this. She's obsessed with me. She's like, basically, he sees her as someone who is a dog with a bone. I'm not calling you a dog at all. I'm saying this is a badge of honor because you were on this before it was popular because of this article written in 2019. This is a piece where you detail how Democrats ignored the Epstein case and which Democratic DAs either dropped the ball or hid the ball. So she's not new to this scandal.
Ann Coulter joins Redacted for the first time. I can't believe this is like the first time that you've been on the show. What the hell is going on that we haven't had you on before? Ann, great to see you again.
Great to see you. Great name for it, especially now with the files coming out, Redacted.
Well, it is kind of funny because people are sharing today, like, oh, great, we're going to get the files and they're all going to be redacted. And we're going to see like 3 words on these redacted files once we get a chance, once the DOJ gets their hands on this. So I know you're celebrating this. We've been celebrating this. This is a big win for Massey. We're going to get these documents, but are we really?
Yes, that is obviously what people are very concerned about. I'm also concerned, separately, I tweeted this the other day, that this will end up being like Al Capone's vault, because I have been following this case since 2006, and I got the only national news program to cover it, Bill O'Reilly on Fox News, bless his soul. He led with it one day because the DA prosecutor, as you just mentioned, for Palm Beach, he's the one. I mean, the Palm Beach police were magnificent. They had basically everything Julie Brown had in her Miami Herald article. It was all in the Palm Beach Post. And it was this Democrat DA, Barry Krischer, who completely buried it. And that's when the chief of police screamed bloody murder and took it to the U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta. Liberals only want to talk about Alex Acosta because many years later he ends up in Trump's cabinet and, oh my gosh, we have a connection to Trump. But it wasn't really a federal case back then. It was child molestation, pedophilia on this one resort island. That isn't a federal case, only if you get to the island and flying girls in from New York or from Paris, as the case may be. But one of the things I wrote about this when they busted Epstein out at Teterboro was it was a little noticed point in a New York Times article. They get a search warrant. They've arrested Epstein. They go into his fabulous, largest private residence in New York City, and the FBI agent in charge, a girl, Special Agent McGuire, they bust open a safe. It takes, the FBI hours to get this safe open, gigantic safe, and they find a huge cache of tapes. And they're marked girl's name, name of male. So what does Agent McGuire do? Well, they find it and they just leave. They leave. So all of Epstein's employees have 24 hours to clear it out. His lawyer comes in, carts off the tapes, and then Agent McGuire comes back the next day and, the safe is empty now. So she finds out the lawyer's taken it, and he says, don't worry, I'll return all the tapes. Gosh, I didn't know you were going to need these. So from what looks like unbelievable incompetence, and I have very little faith in female law enforcement agents, yet and still, oh my gosh, does this case look like a cover-up from beginning to end. I'm worried that a lot of this stuff has already been removed, either by FBI agents looking away, by Epstein's people working for Epstein themselves. They're not wildly law-abiding. I mean, all of this, and perhaps now. So I'm a little bit worried about what has already been removed. And all I can say about that to calm people's fears is these are massive violations of the law. I will even say the one crime Trump broke, for which he was, endlessly prosecuted every 6 minutes when he was out of office, were the classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. And I kept telling my friends, any lawyer will tell you, you can't, if there's a subpoena for something, it doesn't matter. If it's Michael Jordan sneakers, you have to produce it. You have to produce it, or everybody goes to prison. That's most of what New York law firms do. They're just producing documents. It's a really thrilling job. But, either you produce documents they're requesting that are incriminating your client, or everybody at the law firm goes to prison for not producing the documents. So this is a very serious crime, whether it happens going forward now or in the past. And as for everybody's talking about, as you mentioned, is very important. The resolution put in very narrow and legitimate exceptions for current national defense concerns, for the privacy of innocent victims, of innocent bystanders, and standard with, for example, a FOIA request. It can't interfere with the current investigation. I think you just mentioned that. Oh my gosh, just Friday, Trump said, Pam Bondi, I demand that you investigate all these Democrats. So is that an ongoing investigation? I got to tell you, I don't think any court is falling for that. It has to be a legitimate investigation. It has to have been started before the request for the documents. This is in the FOIA request area. And 2 months ago, Trump's attorney general, his FBI, head of his FBI, and Trump himself said, there's nothing to investigate in here. We found no evidence of a crime. So that was their argument up until right before Damocles' sword fell. I don't think anybody's going to say, oh, but now there's an investigation. I don't believe any court would fall for that. It might take some time in court to prove it, though.
Yeah, they called it a hoax, even.
Right. But who would be challenging them in this instance in a court of law?
The Congress.
The Congress would. Okay.
Yes, they want their resolution. They want it fulfilled. We're demanding. It's as if it isn't a FOIA request. Because Trump could release these documents on his own. He doesn't have to wait for the vote, as I think everybody's pointed out. But when they get the documents, when they see, removed because current investigation, no, Congress has a full right to go to court. And I mean, legitimately, I know courts keep ruling against Trump, but that's preposterous. You cannot have your attorney general announce, we don't see any evidence of a crime. Absolutely can't. We got nothing to go on here. Everybody go home. And then 2 months later, right before your hand is forced, we're going to start an investigation. No court will fall for that.
What do you suspect is in the full tranche of documents here, based on your reporting?
Well, what we want, and this is part of what drove me crazy about Pam Bondi's an initial statement and the media coverage of it. We didn't find Epstein's black book. We didn't find a client list. Like I say, I've been following this case since 2006. Nobody thought there was going to be a black bookmarks client list, fellow pedophiles. No, we want, I mean, there are these tapes. She said she has, I think, 10,000 photos and videos. Virginia Giuffre, for reasons I described in my column last week, well, to some extent, I think is absolutely the most credible witness. And I'll just say briefly, I tend to be highly skeptical that a biological father would molest his own daughter. This is an irrelevant point. Read that book, Virginia Giuffre's book. I think it's true here. And if something like that happens to you, you have been turned into such a damaged creature. She was with Epstein from the beginning. A lot of these girls would say, I won't do that. I won't do that. From her very first day, she was doing everything with, and I mean, she wasn't happy about it. It's a very sad book with Jeffrey, with Ghislaine. And according to, so I consider her the longest lasting and most credible of the victims. And she has this book out there. And yeah, she was farmed out to other individuals. And she says there were cameras all over. One thing I didn't care for in the resolution was, and something Bondi said, there can be no images of child abuse or child pornography. I mean, obviously you got to protect the child. You have you heard of photographic blurring? It's been around for 100 years. Blur the girl's face, blur her private parts. But I want to see the face of the perpetrator in Technicolor. I want that clear. I want the names. And I think it exists. It may take a while to get the DOJ to cough it up. But yeah, that's what we want.
But this artifact of your 2019 article, I mean, it's an amazing cross-section of time. Well, what we knew 6 years ago, and it continues to track with what we know today. And you said that the Castle and Edwards, who had filed their case on behalf of the victims, did name names. They alleged Bill Clinton, Dershowitz, and Prince Andrew. And those people continue to sort of run from this, from the light, and it's highly likely that there will be something like that. Can you imagine seeing something like that of former President Clinton?
I personally, and this is just a guess, and no one has a lower opinion of Bill Clinton than I do, I find it hard to believe that either Bill Clinton or Donald Trump was actually diddling little girls. I think Clinton had other motives. I think he was enjoying the private rides. I think he was getting a lot of pressure from perhaps international interests, and wanted to hang around with Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe he wanted to, be around all the beautiful girls in their 20s and 30s. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I do not expect to find any child diddling there. Prince Andrew, I mean, I've heard people say, no, there's no evidence that it was just, I mean, this is the argument on behalf of Bondi saying, no, we didn't find any evidence of a crime, but we also found lots of child porn. Well, I don't know, child porn's a crime. So this is kind of a contradictory statement. The argument has been that Epstein was only taking pictures and videos of himself having sex with the girls, and there's no evidence that anybody else had sex with them. Well, okay, then you got to explain Prince Andrew. You got to explain that model scout from Paris, Jean-Luc Brunel, who was accused by Virginia Giuffre and other underage or girls who had sex with it and raped when they were underage, like Jeffrey Epstein, committed suicide in jail. Explain that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so speaking of that, we've just heard from his brother, Epstein's brother, who's been kind of making the rounds on media over the past couple of days, I suppose, and saying that there was a facility in Virginia which has been wiping the names of Republicans off of these lists. Which, what do you make of that? I mean, these files have been in the hands of like multiple administrations. They're now just going through them like right at the 11th hour. What do you make of Jeffrey Epstein's brother coming out and making these claims in the past few hours?
Batshit crazy. Sorry, I can't say it that way, but I mean, I will stick to what I've said. The only thing that militates against what I've said, but though the FBI, like I say, they just walked out and left all the tapes behind. To pull this off in a big way, you would have to have a lot of people involved. You would have a lot of witnesses, and these are serious crimes. And everyone going through the documents right now better know they're going to prison if they remove anything now. I do think that it's a little bit of a telephone game. These files have been around for a while. I would really like an investigation of Special Agent McGuire and
right.
What she was thinking when she walked out of the house after blowing open the safe. No, we had a search warrant for the house, but it didn't say. I mean, could you, if she thinks the search warrant didn't cover tapes with girl's name of adult billionaire, if that's not covered by the search warrant, I know, leave an intern behind to guard the safe.
Like I could see leaving the milk in the refrigerator behind. Like we're just going to pack and the Swiss cheese that's in the refrigerator, but the safe that has the names of girls on it. Yeah, and you just leave that. So that speaks to the FBI leadership. That also speaks to the current culture at the FBI. As you mentioned, Kash Patel in front of Congress saying that he only trafficked women to himself, doubled down on that. What faith do you have in the current FBI?
And that he killed himself, full stop, right? That was another part of that interview.
You may not like this, but I didn't think so at first. I do think Epstein killed himself.
Really?
I know it looks like there was an enormous number of coincidences, and all of us thought this is BS, this is BS. And by the way, 2 weeks before, maybe it was a week before he killed himself, I sent out a tweet to Department of Prisons, move Jeffrey Epstein to a supermax prison now. Do it now before someone kills him. So I was anticipating it. You had the cameras breaking down. You had the cellmate being moved out of his cell. You had the guards not making the rounds. And then, I mean, I do trust Bill Barr. He looked into it. And the other thing is, you can never underestimate the utter incompetence of the government. Remember when the black guy shot up the subway in New York City? It was like 2 years ago. Shot a lot of people, goes running out. All of the cameras in the subway station were down.
Yeah.
Welcome to the government.
Right. Well, welcome to New York City for sure.
Right.
Wow.
But I'm sorry, what was the other thing you said?
Well, just the competence of the FBI.
Kash Patel.
Kash Patel and the leadership of the FBI.
I like Kash Patel, so I'm sorry that Trump has put him and Dan Bongino in this position. I don't know. What would I do? What would I advise Kash Patel or Bongino? We do want to keep good people there. And if they resign, but I find it very, very, very hard to believe what he was saying there. I'm sorry. I'm believing Kash Patel. I do think it's very weird that Trump is so hysterically opposing the release of these documents. And obviously it tends to show everyone is thinking, what do you have to hide, Buster? And I have long thought it's to protect his donors and perhaps some allied governments. And this week, I did a podcast on my Substack because I figured it out. A light bulb went on over my head why. Part of the reason I think Trump is so hysterically opposing the release of these documents, I was reading through all the emails, releasing stuff on Ken Starr's friendly emails to Epstein. Oh my gosh, those were embarrassing. And Michael Wolff's. Oh my gosh, those were embarrassing.
Yes.
It's all on
Landon-Thomas.com. Yeah.
Yes. But what was striking about the mass of the emails was Trump wasn't emailing Epstein. They weren't getting together. But Epstein was as obsessed with Trump as any MSNBC host, just denouncing him every which way. He's insane. He's crazy. He's on drugs. He isn't worth as much. He's poor. Asking him about his finances. I could destroy this man. It's just every single thing. If you run into someone who says that about another person, you've learned nothing about the other person, but you've learned, wow, you're obsessed with this guy. And Trump, I mean, most normal people, I think, would say, great, a pedophile is denouncing me and saying really mean things about me. Fantastic. Trump really wants the liberal elite to love him. I mean, he does not like anyone saying anything bad about him, even a pedophile. And I think he doesn't want it out there.
It does read to me like I have all this access to the president. Ask me anything. I'm going to predict everything. Someone who was, obsessed. It very much reads like that. And it's not Trump being copied in at any point. So that's
Nor does he
point.
ever produce anything. I mean, that's the proof, it seems to me, that he didn't have anything on Trump. He'll send out, an email to that New York Times guy saying, "Oh yeah, how'd you like a picture of Trump in my kitchen with a bunch of girls in bikinis?" Well, okay, produce it. You got your opportunity.
Right. And we've all seen Trump standing. We've all seen Trump standing with women in bikinis. Like, that's nothing new, right? Show us something you haven't seen. But why hasn't Biden? People are in the chat room like, why didn't the Biden administration ever release this? Why was there no call really from them to release this? Why do you think?
I'm so glad you asked that, because despite the media's idea that they can somehow tie the pedophilia to Trump, and that I feel pretty sure they will not be able to do. We know his type. It's foreign model. I think this is going to hit Democrats way harder than it hits Republicans. I mean, if you look at Epstein himself, huge Democrat. The people who have been protecting him, like starting with the DA in Palm Beach County, the people who have donated to him, the people he was palling around with, the people he donated to. He wasn't donating to Republicans. The names that have come out, heavily Democrats and heavily Democratic donors. Unfortunately, a lot of those donors have now become donors to Trump. So I think that is also part of his reasoning. But I'm sorry, the donors have got to let him go now. They're going to destroy the golden goose that laid the egg if they force him to keep. Nope, I'm not releasing. No, the whole country is up in arms over this.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, he's going to lose. Yeah, exactly. So what do you think? Well, I guess we'll get you out of here on this. What do you think is going to happen with the Senate?
That's a good question. John Thune, I mean, he's not known for being particularly bright, but he's got to put this to a vote right away. Some people have been saying, oh, he'll do it before Christmas. No, do it now. Do it right away. Don't do it before Thanksgiving. Just get the vote over with. The longer they drag this out, I don't know for what purpose, the worse they all look. And I must say, I love Representative Clay Higgins. I think he made a huge mistake voting against the release of the files. And from reading his statement, I think he just wanted to stick to principle. And I was a no before, and I'll be a no now. And he mentioned, oh, we shouldn't release the names and the victims. Don't worry, they're covered. Everybody wants to cover them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pam Bondi already said that. So, yeah, I think that's a huge mistake. He's the one lone vote. Go ahead. You had a question.
No, that was it.
Ann Coulter, great to see you after all these years, and a person who's been on this story since mid-2000s. Thank you so much.
And actually, you and I met, we covered Obama's election day together on the CBS Early Show. I was one of those idiots in the background reading social media, and you were front and center on the CBS Early Show. This was almost 20 years ago. You probably don't remember. But gosh, you look amazing. You have not aged in that 20. How did that happen? So I'm so glad to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Timeless wonder.
Thank you. Good to talk to you guys.
Thanks, Ann. Great to see you. Hope to come back soon. All right, we've got a lot more news to get to on this Taco Tuesday. We're going to talk about...
you were right. My head's spinning. Mm-hmm. You said you talked to Ann Coulter. She drops all this stuff and your head spins afterwards. That's exactly how I feel.
Wait a second. I agree with that. I don't agree with that. Wait a second. She just said this, and you're like, what? So, I told you. See, I told you how to be prepared. Okay, coming up on the show, we're going to talk about no pandemic at all, according to an ex-Pfizer executive who's now saying that he knew right from the beginning there was no pandemic, and he's going to show us the data. And boy, the backlash has been severe against him. Of course, they tried to cancel him as well. We're going to talk about that. Plus, we're going to look at child trafficking, the new child trafficking task force from Department of Homeland Security, which was just announced yesterday. Tara Rodas, who is an HHS whistleblower, is going to join us. She was warning the Biden administration all about this and the wellness checks on these children, what was happening to these children, and the Biden administration did nothing about it. We're going to talk to her coming up. But first, cocoflavanols. Let's talk about that. Keeps your arteries flexible. Regular chocolate, 90% of the flavanols get destroyed during this process. But it's the difference between that and what our friends over at Black Forest Supplements have managed to pull off. Because if you dump just random brown powder in your coffee, you could be 27% harder to kill. That's right. Cocoflavanols from Black Forest Supplements and their new Flavanol cocoa powder. Here's what's insane. A study with 21,000 people showed that this cocoflavanol might reduce a heart attack by 27%. That's right. And this is exactly why we put it in our coffee, because it's absolutely fantastic. It's not candy. It's performance fuel. Every scoop delivers the same active compounds. Harvard researchers have linked to cardiovascular support, better blood flow, even sharper focus. Think of it like an insurance policy. Inside-out protection for your heart, your brain, and your stamina. We can't depend on big pharma or processed junk food to protect our health. And this is one of those rare times where the science is clear, but access is limited. So if you've been thinking about trying it, act now before it's gone. Go to blackforestsupplements.com/redact. You buy one, get one free for 48 hours only. And if you just scan that QR code, you'll have access to it right away. That's blackforestsupplements.com/redacted, or scan the QR code on your screen. Buy one, get one free. Promo for 48 hours only. So grab it right now. Well, how many of you believe there was no pandemic at all? Well, you'd be right, according to ex-Pfizer executive Dr. Michael Yaden. Again, these aren't my words, although I agree with him. Just to be clear, YouTube censors, these are the words of an ex-Pfizer executive who says there was no pandemic at all. Dr. Michael Yaden. Now, he says there's no pandemic, and the lie was maintained in order to inject 5.5 billion people with what he says was an intentionally dangerous substance, 17 million of whom have died so far, he says, after having received it. Watch.
There has not been a pandemic. Dennis Rancourt's data shows that the all-cause mortality evidence data did not increase at all. in the run-up to the declaration fraudulently by WHO of a pandemic. There is no public health emergency except that created by our governments. A inappropriate, fraudulent PCR test was used to give people the impression that they had a particular disease where they didn't. There were all the normal diseases. And then what happened was, in 3 different ways, people were treated badly through changed medical procedures that were imposed above the level of nation, briefly, mass ventilation of people inappropriately in hospitals that led to lots of deaths. In care homes, many people were given sedatives and respiratory depressants, which led to their deaths. My PhD was specifically in that area of opiates and respiratory depression. And in the community, people were denied life-saving antibiotics and died of bacterial pneumonia. There's your pandemic. There is no other pandemic. And based on this lie, we were told that vaccines were coming our way and would be our savior. 2 things. As I say, first, there's no pandemic, so you certainly don't need an experimental, rushed medical intervention. But secondly, even if you did, as someone who's worked in the industry for over 30 years, I am telling you, it's absolutely impossible to invent, test, clinically evaluate, and manufacture and then launch on global scale a complex biomedical product. It's absolutely impossible. It's not as close, it's years wrong. The fastest record prior to this was 6 years. And friends of mine who've worked all their lives in manufacturing of complex biological products tell me the methods development alone for the development of a reproducible manufacturing process itself takes a number of years. So whatever it is you think was done, I am telling you, there was not the development of a proper medical product. What I think happened was the advancement of materials that are intentionally toxic, and then they were sketchily advanced and jammed into people's arms, often coerced, sometimes even mandated, with the unsurprising effect that millions of people have died. So I think having heard what I've just said, that there was no pandemic and the lie was maintained in order to inject people en masse, I think 5.5 billion people, with an intentionally dangerous substance, 17 million of whom have died so far.
Now, of course, Yaden in many quarters is a hero, speaking out about this for years. But now we have all of the sort of cumulative data to look back on this. And he's vindicated on this. Of course, he was vilified. Yaden was early in warning about these shots. And the mainstream media, like Reuters at the time, which of course has direct ties to British intelligence, was slamming the doctor, calling him basically a kook for warning people. I just want to read a portion of this Reuters hit piece on Dr. Yaden. Here it is, the ex-Pfizer scientist who became an anti-vax hero. Goes on to take him to task and keep every paragraph is like, which has been proven wrong, which has been proven wrong. They're all lies, of course, because in fact he was vindicated. Here's just one example of their lies. Let me just kind of scroll here. So, let's go back. Sorry, go back. Yeah. In recent runs, Yaden, pronounced Yeaton, has emerged as an unlikely hero of the soul. Oh, shoot. I guess it ran out. Sorry. I should have got the screenshot instead of the scrolling of it. I apologize. Anyway, you can read the piece for yourself. It's just a total hit piece on him. There was a coordinated effort in 2021, of course, to discredit Dr. Yaden with all kinds of fact-checking websites jumping on to say how great the COVID shots were, how dangerous Dr. Yaden's claims were. Here's just one example. This fact check debunked claims by an ex-Pfizer employee about COVID-19. They just call him an employee. Talk about him being an executive, like a scientist. He's just an employee. He's just some guy in the mailroom about COVID-19 vaccines.
He was a vaccine maker.
Exactly. He's just an employee.
Was, if I recall correctly, one of the inventors of mRNA, wasn't he?
I don't know if he was one of the of Robert Malone. I'm not sure if he was. I don't know. I have to look that up, to be honest with you.
Okay, put a pause on that. That might be Natalie's memory.
But anyway, here in one of the things it talks about the children, they go through like a number of claims he's made. Claim number 4, COVID-19 is not a threat or fatal to anyone below the age of 60. Okay, Like many before him, Yeadon has also suggested that the risk of COVID-19 is overplayed because it primarily affects older people. But this claim is false, according to the fact checkers. COVID-19 is a risk to people of all ages, and the virus has killed young people. Really?
Well, actually, statistical data has proven him right, that people under 30 only died with COVID due to pre-existing conditions by and large. It's the numbers are overwhelming, and we've presented those studies here. So history proved him right.
And so Miss Stacy in her chat says, even the Pfizer CEO said he did not get his own COVID vaccine. That's all you need to know is like the CEO of Pfizer like refused to get his own shot. That's all you need to know. Anyway, no pandemic at all, according to him.
This is something Dan Cohen on Uncaptured Media has had interviews with virologists as well, talking about how the likelihood of a virus spreading like this naturally across the globe. So look up that as well, because Dan Cohen is very much on this as well and has done some great research in addition to Dr. Yeadon.
So fact checking in real time, David says no, Michael Yeadon and Robert Malone did not work together to create the initial mRNA technology.
I got it wrong.
Sona, who was a former vice president and chief scientist at Pfizer. He was by the way, yes, he was the allergy and respiratory researcher at Pfizer. So he was like in charge of the respiratory and research center, literally in charge of like, oh, it's a respiratory virus? That's your guy. And he's telling you there's no pandemic. Okay.
I misspoke. I shall go in a closet and flog myself later. I apologize. No, I'm not asking you to participate.
All right. Hey, coming up, we're going to talk about Saudi Arabia.
Yes. Why are they our besties? Guess what? There's a financial interest. And guess what else? It steals from you. It steals directly from your paycheck. Not the Saudis directly, but the deep state actors who tie our dollar to the Saudi investments. I'm going to explain this to you, and you're going to understand why this cozy relationship between MBS and Trump. But first, we want to tell you about Connect Invest, because is your money working for you? Well, investing in real estate has never been easier, and people who own tangible assets like real estate can say that their money is working for them, because savings accounts and CDs, they offer low returns, barely keep up with inflation. The stock market, well, that's volatile, unpredictable. One day you're up, one day you're down. If you're tired of watching your hard-earned money sit idle or ride the market roller coaster, then it's time for a better solution. Now you can invest in real estate short notes with as little as just $500 with annualized returns of up to 9%. Yes, you heard me right. Real estate has long been proven as a way to build wealth. But for most, the barriers of buying real estate are just too high. They don't have the time. They don't have the money to buy a whole property. Well, that's why you can invest in these funds. A short note means that you are collectively funding commercial and residential real estate projects, but you don't own the whole thing, so you don't have to manage. You don't have to clean the toilets or fix the windows or the garbage. None of that. There's no property management, no market swings, just steady, predictable income with annualized return rates of up to 9%. So this is how easy it is to get started. Head on over to redacted.inc/invest. Fund your digital wallet with $500 or more. Select a short note, 6, 12, or 24 months, and sit back and earn monthly income through your returns. So again, join the thousands of investors who are doing just this, and you can get a $50 bonus in your digital wallet. So again, you can start with as little as $500. Go to redacted.inc/invest. Stop letting your money sit idle. Invest smarter, earn more, and build with Connect Invest. And again, I'm going to tell you about the US dollar and how it's perverted at the end of this show through our relationship with foreign governments. And you're going to be even more glad that you're looking into alternatives for the US dollar.
Indeed. Okay. Well, Trump's Department of Homeland Security just announced a brand new program that will conduct welfare checks on the over 450,000 unaccompanied children who were sex trafficked under President Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas into the United States of America. Most of these children were carried across the border and then given to people across the country who use them for sex slavery and worse. If you can imagine anything worse than that. Most of these children came across the border by people they don't even know. They're drugged. They can't speak to authorities. Like this little boy. Watch.
There has not been a pandemic.
Oh, that's the wrong video, but here, there we go. Oh.
¿Con quién viene? ¿Ese niño de quién es? ¿Por qué viene dormido así ese niño?
Ah, se durmió.
A ver, levántalo.
Hola, levántate. levántate. Levántate, papá. Dormido bien.
Levántalo.
Papá, ¿qué fue? Estaba dormido.
Venía.
Sí, dormido venía.
¿A qué estado te diriges? ¿De dónde vienes?
De Guatemala.
¿De Guatemala? ¿A qué estado vas?
A Denver, Colorado.
¿Que viene el niño solo? ¿Y la mamá?
No, yo soy el papá.
¿Pero por dónde está la mamá?
En Guatemala.
¿Cuántos años tiene el niño?
Año y medio.
¿Y cuándo nació?
Él nació el 29 de junio.
¿De qué año?
Del 29 de junio.
Yeah.
Del...
How many of you think that's the father? So this task force will start going door to door to check on these kids. Where were they placed? Are these kids even alive? Do they even know where these kids are placed at this point? I mean, God knows. We have a lot of questions about that. And we wanted to bring in Tara Rodas, who was warning the Biden administration about this, screaming from the top of her lungs about this in front of Congress, and they did nothing about it. And it took just until yesterday to get this task force initiated. Tara, great to see you. Welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for everything you do. Welcome back.
Clayton, Natalie, it's always an honor to be here. And thank you so much for continuing to shine a light on the crisis of the migrant missing children. I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you for your work. And you shined a light at HHS, letting all of us know about this practice and in many ways funneling these children to these homes. And the wellness checks piece I wanted to get to, because they're going to start to initiate these wellness checks. But as you and I know, and we've covered here on the show, the wellness checks that have been in place so far have been a joke. Maybe you can just talk a little bit about, like, what are we even talking about here, that under the Biden administration, these wellness checks were just a joke?
Yeah, well, what I can say is when I was working at the Pomona Fairplex emergency intake site, as an example, we released over 1,000 children to the state of Texas. We never did one home visit in all of those releases. And that was just one example. We released over 8,300 children during the short time the Pomona Fairplex was open, about 5 months. So we also never saw the sponsor in person. So if you were a case manager, you never saw in person the person who was getting the child, the so-called sponsor, who we know now are criminals, traffickers, members of transnational criminal organizations. It is unthinkable that the United States government stripped the parental rights of all of these children, funneled them under the cover of darkness all across the country, and lost them. And it's unthinkable. And like you said, Aaron Stevenson, the DHS whistleblower, was the first in the fight to call this out as a national security threat and a threat to the children. And then it was in August that we also found MS-13 operators getting the kids. So Aaron was first, and then came our site in Pomona. Yeah, it's unthinkable. The stories that we're hearing now are appalling. And none of this had to happen, but we gave children, vulnerable children, to transnational criminals, to gang members. We gave them to pedophiles. We gave them to abusers. One of the stories that they highlighted yesterday was the story of a child who crossed the border at only 1 year old, and has been abused all of these years, had wounds, was in forced labor. This is really one of the biggest stains on the United States government. This is a terrible, terrible thing they were involved in.
And I've said to you this before, but I think people compartmentalize this. You know, we talk about open borders, we talk about, but they somehow sort of memory hole or don't want to talk about the darkest piece of this, which is the children and where these children go. President Trump was asked about it before he was inaugurated, I believe, for the second time. He was asked about these children, and I think he said he was worried. I think that he had a number of like 300,000, and he worried that they were dead when he was asked about it. So,
yes, well,
what do you think?
Well, unfortunately, you may recall a story that was done probably, I want to say now, maybe 6 or 7 weeks ago, where they actually revealed some of the numbers, and they did find that 29 of the children were deceased. They found hundreds of them raped, tortured, abused, and these were from the phone calls that were coming in. So if you can imagine So Clayton, going back, you mentioned about my congressional testimony.
Right.
When I testified the first time, I said, there is a hotline that the children are calling and we don't know if they're going to get the help they need. Those were my exact words to Congress. And guess what we discovered, what Trump discovered? That over 65,000 calls for help from children went unanswered. Oh. That's how they've been able to find 23,000 of these missing children, and finding deceased children, finding children being raped and tortured and abused because they never even answered the phone. Now, the thing that is most shocking is these are migrant children. Migrant children. The administration who claims to be so pro-migrant, really? They're putting children to be dead, raped, tortured, abused? There's a lot of hypocrisy going on here.
Right. So the Democrats welcome you with open arms into our country, and we'll take care of you from your war-ravaged countries that, by the way, we were involved with creating those wars and disrupting those countries in the first place. But that's a conversation for another day. So we'll welcome you into our country. But of course, the real story is the amount of money, and that the NGO network is then taking these children from these coyotes and others who are bringing them in, taking them to these facilities, and then shepherding them across the United States to do the bidding of rich individuals or whomever for all sorts of sexual gratification and the most unimaginably horrible things that were being facilitated by Alejandro Mayorkas at the Department of Homeland Security, among others, and working with these NGOs to facilitate all of this. So, it sounds so preposterous to say out loud.
Yes, it does. And I think the American taxpayer simply has no idea that their tax money was being diverted away from Americans in need, from Americans like our veterans. Veterans were sleeping on the streets while the United States government was pipelining billions of dollars to organizations like Catholic Charities, for example. Billions of dollars to house, feed, give medical care to. FEMA was giving these NGOs or money. All of these various governmental organizations were using taxpayer dollars, and they were using it under the guise, right? Catholic Charities, they were using HIAS, they were using Lutheran Services, Bethany Christian Services. All of these supposed humanitarian sounding organizations became a government pipeline and a white glove delivery service of bad actors into the United States and then vulnerable children into their hands for abuse. And it's really unthinkable. I think the taxpayer has not yet realized what was done with their money and the abuse that has occurred to immigrants as a result of the failed open border policies.
Official Emerald King in our chat room says, we've been living in hell and we weren't aware.
Yes.
You were sounding the alarm, but of course we were covering it as well, but it just got suppressed. It gets suppressed and blocked. Any of these stories just get, suppressed as much as possible from the tech giants. Of course, they don't want this message out there. They don't want people to be aware of this horror. Are you hopeful? So, I'm a hopeful person, but you've been in the midst of this. Are you hopeful that this new task force is going to upend the apple cart? Because yesterday, Kristi Noem specifically said in the White House, she said, because, we're doing this in Memphis, we're going to start to go into this network, and we're going to start to find all of the tendrils that are connected to the other pieces and start to rip it apart. Do you think that that's going to happen?
Well, what I can say is this is a great start. It is a great start. But we do need to elevate this and make sure that this is a national priority, a tier 1 national priority. And we need to involve our intelligence communities if we ever have any hope of dismantling these trafficking networks. This is something that both Aaron Stevenson and I have been saying for years now, that we need to elevate child trafficking and make sure that it is a terrorist activity so that we can go after them. We can go after their money. See, this is what they really care about. And when you can use things like FinCEN and you can use the Terrorist Screening Center to see who the sponsors are. So, I would think of it this way. Yes, going after the if we use the analogy of drugs, if you're trying to stop the drug trade, of course you want to recover the drugs, right? We're starting to recover the children, but what you really want to do is target the drug trafficker. And this is where we need to go. We need to target the trafficking networks. And this is simple, Clayton. This is simple. This is called going after every single sponsor. We can simply put the sponsors on the watch list. We can use our intelligence apparatus to begin looking. Where are they? Where they're moving? What are they doing? Oh, they just purchased 12 flights. They went from Las Vegas to Chicago to LA to New York with 8 people. Interesting. So we need to target the trafficker. This has been my message from the beginning and the message of Aaron Stevenson, the DHS whistleblower. Target the traffickers and you will find the children.
Right. The first step was closing the border, which we've done.
Yes.
Tremendous. I think everyone would agree. You can have all the opinions you want about Trump right now, but closing the border, absolutely a huge win. Now, get these cases through the court system and go after these traffickers and start to unpack this incredible hellish network that's in the United States. I guess I'll get you out of here on this, Tara, which is on the wellness check piece. Because as we know, sometimes, you wouldn't even go to their houses. Even a phone call was enough. And if you didn't get them on the phone, that was your wellness check. You're done. We drop a child off at what they told us was the father or the aunt. Probably good. Don't need to check up on them ever again. What do you think these new wellness checks will look like? Is it going to be door knocking, full on SWAT teams to get to the bottom of this, or is it going to be another phone call situation?
Yeah, well, I wish I could have had my friend John Fabricatori over at the Office of Refugee Resettlement on the line before this call, but I couldn't get him today. But what I will say is that the wellness checks that were done before were ridiculous. Like you said, they would make a phone call. If the person didn't answer, they just close the case. What I know they are doing now is DNA testing. They are doing lots of other things. They are making sure that people have valid IDs to be a sponsor. Imagine that. They are making sure that the sponsor has funds to care for the child so that they're not pimping them out for sex or putting them into forced labor. So I imagine that these wellness checks that they're going to be doing now are going to be much more extensive. They have never in the history of this program done a door knocking campaign to find the children. So this is the first of its kind. I give the Trump administration great kudos for doing this. Tom Homan, if you've ever heard him speak about the children who he's had to, get down on one knee and listen to the story of these small girls where 8 cartel members have crawled up on her and taken her innocence and the deadness in her eyes. Tom Homan is a compassionate man. Borders are compassionate. Borders are not immoral. We want to keep rapists, especially child rapists and murderers, out of our country. This just makes sense. So this is a great step forward. I believe they are serious. And I think that once they're done with this part, they need to add that intelligence piece to target the traffickers.
Tara Rodas, thank you for everything you've been doing to bring awareness to this subject. And hopefully this is a good, when I saw this story, I said, there's one person I want to talk to about this because I think this is finally a good, big next step in this entire process. So I'm hopeful. Tara, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Clayton. We definitely need to defend and protect the kids. Thank you for doing that.
Amen. God bless you. Thank you so much.
God bless.
All right.
Well, coming up, that was a toughie. The videos and the stories, that was a toughie. But it's worth seeing what we're up against. Coming up, we're going to talk about why we're besties with Saudi Arabia. What do we get from it? Why do we need to do this? It's going to provide you with some context with why the White House had to roll out the red carpet for Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. But first...
I honestly couldn't do this job every day if it wasn't for ExpressVPN. That's not an exaggeration. Every single day that I need to check websites, read reports, access sources from around the world, I need to use ExpressVPN because the truth is many of those websites are censored. This just happened to me. In fact, I was in the UK, I was in Scotland, and I had to jump on a couple of different websites. I couldn't. They were blocked. And without ExpressVPN, I would have been completely cut off, unable to access different websites while I was there. So here's how it works. ExpressVPN lets you change your online location instead of being stuck with the version of the internet that your government wants you to see. You can connect through one of ExpressVPN's secure servers in another country. That means if a site is blocked in the UK, I can instantly connect through a US server, and bam, it's wide open. Same thing if you want to access more shows or streaming services, you're no longer limited to what's available in your country. It's not just about censorship. ExpressVPN also encrypts your internet connection, so your personal data is secure. Not hackers, not corporations, not even internet providers can track what you're doing. It's about privacy. It's about online freedom. So don't wait until you run into some kind of a wall like I have. Take back control of your internet today. Find out how you can get up to 4 months free by clicking the link in the description box below, or just scanning the QR code that's right on your screen, or go to expressvpn.com/redacted. Again, find out how you can get up to 4 months free by clicking that link in the description or scanning that QR code on the screen. Visit expressvpn.com/redacted.
Well, the White House rolled out the red carpet for the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. He's colloquially known as MBS. This is his first visit to the U.S. since the trial of his murder for Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi, which was dismissed by the Biden administration. Now, I want to go over the complicated history between the United States and Saudi Arabia. This is not necessarily an indictment on the Trump administration or the current leadership of Saudi Arabia. This is the result of decades of corruption, deep state corruption that was started in 1974. So the fact that the Trump administration and the Crown Prince have to both keep this going, they have to. And I'm going to show you why and how it's not actually good for Americans, especially American workers. Now, the president and the Crown Prince made themselves besties. The White House rolled out the red carpet, full military salute. Now, Washington always pretends that this is about strategic stability, but in reality, it's about weapons, money, and ensuring that the U.S. keeps its foothold in the Gulf, and also making sure that the U.S. dollar does not collapse. Now, President Biden's policy was to make Saudi Arabia a pariah. That was never going to be possible. The United States used Saudi Arabia to establish the petrodollar in the 1970s and sold Saudi Arabia Treasury securities outside of the normal auction. Now, David Spiro's great book is a great way to find out this backstory. He used reporting from leaked documents and interviews. He pointed out how in 1974, the U.S. made a backdoor deal with Saudi Arabia to make sure that the U.S. would, in fact, be the world's global currency. That deal wasn't just unusual, it was secret. Saudi Arabia was allowed to buy U.S. debt on private terms and shielded from other allies because the U.S. needed someone to anchor the dollar after Nixon had basically killed it by killing the gold standard in 1971. Now, without Saudi buying treasuries and pricing oil in dollars, the dollar may not have survived the 1970s inflation crisis. But because the United States dollar is the global currency due to the petrodollar, that's why we have a $38 trillion debt, because we can just keep borrowing on this premise. So now you see why this relationship is so important to the United States. Also, Saudi does still have quite a bit of those U.S. treasuries. Take a look. They, as of the end of last year, still had about $144 billion. In sum, the U.S.-Saudi business arrangement runs long and deep. These holdings are not just symbolic. They stabilize the Saudi riyal, too. Both countries need each other. Saudi Arabia's currency is pegged to the U.S. dollar, so they must hold their treasuries to defend their own economy. That's why that idea of breaking up with Saudi Arabia was always theater. Saudi Arabia has always been the pillar of U.S. hegemony. That hegemony runs both ways. Every president, either Democrat or Republican, ultimately bends the knee because they cannot afford to collapse the petrodollar, because that would cause a total collapse and show the world that the U.S. dollar is insolvent. So what does this relationship look like today, knowing this? So now you can't say, oh, Trump wants to do this, he wants this, right? It's not about what Trump might personally want. This is why President Biden, even though he wanted to talk tough about Saudi Arabia, human rights, blah, 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 gay rights, he couldn't. It was not possible. So what does that look like today? Well, the two leaders announced a $600 billion investment in U.S. infrastructure and U.S. business. Watch.
Mr. President, today and tomorrow we're going to announce that we are going to increase that $600 billion to almost $1 trillion of investment, real investment and real opportunity by details in many areas. And the agreement that we are signing today in many areas in technology, in AI, in earth materials, magnet, etc., that will create a lot of investment opportunities.
So you are doing that now. You're saying to me now that the $600 billion will be $1 trillion.
Definitely, because what we are signing, it will facilitate that. And
I like that very much. Go ahead.
You worked hard.
No, that's great. I appreciate that. That's great. We're doing numbers that nobody's ever done. And in all fairness, if you didn't see potential in the U.S., you wouldn't be doing that.
Definitely.
You don't want to lose money.
As you said, Mr. President, it's the most hottest country
if we could stop there.
The planet.
It's interesting he's saying the U.S. has so much potential and talent when he told Fox News that we don't. But again, he's trying to push that Saudi will make this investment inside the United States. And we're going to talk more about how that pays back the American worker in a second. Now, he also did scold the press for asking about the death of Jamal Khashoggi, the Washington Post reporter. Now, you'll remember the Biden administration had no choice but to dismiss that case because MBS had been crowned the crown prince, and there are laws about prosecuting a sovereign. Here, President Trump is saying, look, we don't want to talk about that, basically. Yes, that guy died a horrible death. That's not why we're here. Watch.
He's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
It's just you ask, Mr. President, if you allow me to answer. I feel painful about,
Okay, it would seem very unlikely that the Crown Prince, if he did not have a direct hand in it, he would know who did. President Trump is, in fact, right that the Khashoggis are a suspicious family. Did you know they are tied to Jeffrey Epstein? His uncle, Adnan Khashoggi, was one of the world's most infamous arm brokers and one of the financiers behind Jeffrey Epstein's early rise. And in fact, Epstein did try to broker deals involving Saudi nuclear programs, but there is no evidence that Jamal Khashoggi had anything to do with that. There is evidence that he died a painful death by way of a bone saw. But Trump is saying it's rude to ask what he knows about it. Okay, again, this is more evidence of deep state actors than anything else. This Khashoggi, Epstein, Saudi, deep state deals, the petrodollar. You can see where I'm going with this, right? None of this has to do with the American worker, but we are having to observe it. What else does Saudi Arabia want from the U.S.? A military alliance. They have long sought a formal defense guarantee from the U.S., much like the one that President Trump recently inked with the government of Qatar, although much good it did them, because not long after that ink dried, Israel went and bombed Qatar. The only thing the United States did to defend them was make Bibi Netanyahu call and apologize. So I don't know what that defense is worth. I wouldn't be too keen if I were a foreign nation for the United States protection, but okay. Now, when you ask the U.S. State Department, why do the Saudis want U.S. protection when we have not been able to protect anyone from Israel? Our guarantees are worth not very much. We go to war based on lies in the Middle East. Why would Saudi want that? They see it. They're not stupid. Why would they want that? They say, well, the Saudis are afraid of Iran getting a nuclear weapon, which makes no sense because, take a look, their neighbor to the north, Israel, has a nuclear weapon. They know this. They should be more afraid of that than the possibility of Iran getting a nuclear weapon, which that has never been proven. Okay, the State Department would say, well, that's because Iran seeks regime change in Saudi Arabia. Again, there's not been proof of that. The American line, the State Department would say, well, Saudi Arabia thinks that Iran will invade them eventually, and they're worried about that. Based on what exactly would you be afraid of Iran making a foreign invasion? Because if you take a look at the list of who since 1950 has actually done cross-border invasions, who there has not on this list? Iraq has, Saudi Arabia, yes, Turkey, Israel. The list almost doesn't fit on my screen. So Iran hasn't invaded anyone in a century. If Saudi Arabia is afraid of an invasion, Iran is a not very logical suspect. So what does Saudi Arabia really need U.S. protection for? It's not very logical, is it? When you look at, though, our history of Saudi Arabia, it's clear Washington does not protect Saudi Arabia out of mutual love. Saudi Arabia surely does not trust Washington. They'd be a fool to. They do it because both sides are chained together by money, the dollar, the debt, the oil, the weapons.
I was going to say they need to reframe that or make it a different term. Like it's not aid or whatever. It's money laundering. That's what it basically is.
Well, it has been, yeah. I mean, this underhand deal that gave the Saudis U.S. treasuries and then gave the United States the petrodollar, even though the United States had committed at the Bretton Woods Agreement that it would not make deals like this under the table, they did it, right? So it's a long line of corruption that we've had to hold up. Our current leaders, I mean, we're not, we don't make excuses for our current leaders, but they didn't do this. This was done decades ago. So why should we care if it means that the United States will make money around the world and can continue to operate on all of this debt? Why should we care? Well, one, the debt is not good for us. It is a theft from the American people. It continues to devalue the dollar that we go to work for every day. It keeps Washington addicted to cheap borrowing, cheap oil, endless military commitments. It keeps our troops stationed in places they do not need to be. So when President Trump brags that, we have this $600 billion investment, it's so good for us, it's not really true because those investments only exist inside a system that lets Washington continue to pile up the debt. So we can make this one transactional investment, but we are always tied to the debt based on the petrodollar. Every dollar of that debt is a theft from the American working class and through inflation and declining purchasing power. So it might be nice that we have diplomatic niceties with Saudi Arabia. It is not good for either country. Let me know what you think of this.
No, you're right. And it hasn't been since the 1970s. And Aramco, like with the oil deals, you have these $1 trillion in oil monies that flowing back to U.S. Treasuries, as you point out. But how long is that sustainable when the value of the U.S. dollar continues to plummet? What President Trump in the past few weeks has talked about, yes, I don't really want a strong U.S. dollar. The reason he doesn't want a strong U.S. dollar is particularly for these reasons.
Yeah.
Right. By having the U.S. dollar be weak, he's like, it's good for America have the weak U.S. dollar.
Right. So, I mean, when I watch something like this, it makes me incredibly sad. I'm not pumped up on the personality of it. We can't do business with Saudi Arabia, their human rights record or something. President Trump specifically said in his address in the Middle East this summer, we don't tell people how to be anymore. We're not going to do that. I hope that he meant it, right? So this is not what that is. This is something completely different. And again, it will continue to erode the U.S. dollar. And that's what makes me incredibly sad about it. And both sides have to play along with this game. I mean, I'm not an economist, so I don't know what you would do to break this perversion. I would love to hear from somebody who would.
Break what part? Break this relationship where they're buying U.S. treasuries in this exclusive oil deal with the United States?
To just sort of break our allegiance to the Saudi Riyadh. Yeah. I mean, they make it so that both countries can be economically independent without devaluing their currency. It's bad for both continents.
And a lot of people don't realize, the more of those American things they buy, if they ever wanted to, if China ever decided, we want to take down the United States, they can just flood our market with that stuff and take us down economically and not even have to drop a single boot on the ground.
Not Saudi Arabia, because
I'm saying the vulnerabilities of doing things like that to our economy. We just put ourselves in a more vulnerable situation every time.
Right. I mean, the amount of their treasuries is less than 1% of U.S. treasuries, so it would be a diplomatic move. But again, I mean, this is something we knew at Bretton Woods, that being the world's reserve currency would hurt us eventually. I can't remember the name of the economist who warned about this.
I mean, I think we can safely say that Bretton Woods is dead. I mean, we can put it on a tombstone. It is dead. I mean, the world's reserve currency, the U.S. as a world's reserve currency, is collapsing in real time. It's down to about 47% now. Mm-hmm. So like the longevity of Bretton Woods is written on the tombstones at this point. And maybe one way to save it is with this stablecoin strategy, the scheme that they're sort of planning right now with converting the US dollar to a stablecoin. So you back your crypto with US dollars, and it's a 1-for-1 with US dollars, no longer tied to the petrodollar. It's no longer tied to oil. I don't know. I mean, this is like a Hail Mary moment, though, for President Trump. And I think Scott Benson, though, is saying now we're going to try to come out and go after this $38 trillion in debt. Oh, now you're going to start going after the $38 trillion in debt?
Yeah, I mean.
Good luck.
Okay. So hopefully that helps to inform your coverage of this, because this is not what the mainstream media is only interested in the way that Trump personally is making friends with MBS. I'm less interested in that. I mean, obviously I do want justice for Jamal Khashoggi. His death, the stories of his death are harrowing. But again, what we need to know about how this affects us right now is, I think, a little bit more pressing. And the media just doesn't care. They only care about the Kardashian nature of it, you know? And I think that's a miss. Okay, well, before we let you go for today, thank you for sticking with us. It's been a big show. We want to tell you about our friends over at Crypto.com. As we just established, the US dollar as the global currency is a fad that is on its way out. And the cryptocurrency trend is no longer emerging. It's here. This latest move cements reality in a big way. Trump's media just inked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Yorkville Acquisition Corp. And Crypto.com, the crypto platform trusted by millions of users worldwide. They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in this powerhouse token, CRO, that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi staking rewards and real-world perks like cash back on your spends to establish America's first CRO treasury, Trump Media Group's CRO strategy. So check it out for yourself. When this is done, this new company will be the biggest publicly traded CRO holder out there. If you want in on the action, head on over to Crypto.com today. Let's make crypto great again. For more information on the proposed business combination, check out Yorkville Acquisition Corp's public filing. Again, check it out for yourself. Go to Crypto.com. It's a great way. Again, crypto is a tangible asset. You cannot inflate it. You cannot bet on it. You cannot hedge against it. You cannot run up debt. So again, check it out for yourself. Crypto.com.
All right. Any super chats we want to get to today? Hey, we got our new camera set up over here, by the way. Take a look at our new camera. There it is.
Oh, it's like cleavage.
What?
You got to warn me when you do that.
I got to warn you about cleavage?
I
Okay.
Sorry. That was my fault.
I mean, it's pretty much in every shot, just FYI. So
if that's my new job as a cleavage warner, sign me
You
up.
like that job? You just
I
watch
would. I just would watch it all day. I just alert people about it.
Yeah, I mean, even the
coronavirus
had to have like special things done to it to get a cleavage. So
right. I mean, does it come with health benefits?
Just have to figure out, Clayton, if you're a cleavage warner, that you're warning there's too much or not enough. Because I think that you're probably going to be warning not enough.
Exactly.
I think sometimes I rely on, my laptop for the microphone. If I think something doesn't fit the way it did last time I put it on, and
you are a woman.
I am a woman.
You're a beautiful woman.
This is what women go through.
I wish I had cleavage.
You can make some with some tape.
Yeah.
If you want, I'll show you how.
Let's see. Yeah. So when Richie is asking in the chat room, can he apply for that position? It's not an open position. If there's an open position, I'm filling that position. I'm going to do it for free, actually.
You have to found your own chapter. You'll have to found your own chapter. We're franchising.
Get your own cleavage to watch.
At cleavage.com. But anyway, back to this chat. I want to see our new camera. I want to show it off.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I do want to show it off, our new camera. Go ahead. There it is. See how nice our new camera looks? Yeah. We're still tweaking the studio and getting everything in. We'll call that cleavage cam. So let's take cleavage cam. Let's go. Start off on cleavage cam. Let's see what super chats we have. International Silver Day will be held on April 7th. Let me see what super chats I've got in here, if any we had come in. Member for 22 months is Stubby. Hit that like button, people. Thank you so much as a member for 22 months. And Wendy Scholl is a new member as well. What'd you guys think about Ann Coulter? What'd you guys think about, I know a lot of people disagree. I was shocked to hear her say that she thought that Epstein actually killed himself.
Yeah.
That was.
We can talk more
that
about that.
And Clinton probably wasn't guilty of the child diddling, as she put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting, but hey, you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and she knows a lot of people and a lot of different sources on these things. And so, and she's been covering the story since 2006. Like, if she thought that there was some sort of smoke.
Some diddling. I mean, we know he did diddling. We know the Lewinsky scandal.
Yeah.
So, but that was a different, maybe because he had other people to diddle.
Well, Monica Lewinsky
she
was also an adult.
Children.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. I mean, I don't see it. I've talked to sources who believe that they know who actually did kill Epstein. That's a story that I'm working on. And who was brought in as an adjacent cellmate, oddly, and the timing is very bizarre on all of this. So I don't know. And the cameras being turned off. I agree with her on that point, though. Like, cameras being turned off in government,
Sure.
The terrible nature of we lived in New York City. I mean, the fact, like, none of that stuff works. Have you been in the subway in New York City? You think that stuff works? It's like a hellhole down there.
Yeah, but I think there's too much of like a Rube Goldberg machine of errors in that for it to be, like it just, there's like a one or two maybe, but there's just way too many in that for me to think it wasn't, a targeted killing.
Poem says that was a bridge too far. Doesn't think that that's the case. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's all the super chats we got for today. So we're going to say thank you. By the way, we have a daily newsletter. I would love for all of you to subscribe to it. Just go to redacted.inc and you can sign up for the free newsletter that we publish every day here at Redacted. First thing in the morning, you can read it over your cup of coffee. Just go there to redacted.inc, not .com, and you click on newsletter at the top of the screen, and then you just submit your email and you will receive it. I should also mention we've got a store because, hey, it's the holidays are coming up. And a bunch of people yesterday were asking me, I was wearing one of our new shirts, featured one of our Don't Tread on Me shirts. I was wearing it on the show yesterday, and someone was asking me, where do you get it? And it's just go to redactedstore.com. You can check everything out there and grab maybe a hoodie or a mug or something else for the holidays. We don't mark the prices up on these things. We really try to keep it as close to printing cost as possible. And ship right to your house. And you can grab it right now. By the way, David, when someone signs up and becomes a member, don't they get choice of merchandise for free?
Yeah, at certain levels.
Okay.
But it's not the same merchandise. They don't allow us to connect to that same store, but it is redacted merch, but it's
okay.
It's
a
not
different.
It's a little different. It's not as cool, unfortunately. We can't do the awesome customizations that we can do at the current provider.
Okay.
To Vermont says, I read your newsletter at lunch. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Optimistic Realizer says, I need some of that redacted merch. Thank you so much. Yeah, I always like seeing people out occasionally. I see a person with a redacted hat on, and that's always like shocking to me, like at the grocery store or something, or, I'm like, what? Anyway.
Yeah, I like seeing it when I'm watching other YouTubers and they're wearing something. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I know. I was watching Ryan.
I still miss my redacted hoodie. Got donated to my daughter. She stole it. She steals all my hoodies.
I steal my son's hoodies.
What size are you again, Philip? I know I see our hoodies do run, I think, a little short or small. So if you're normally a large,
I think I got a medium, and it was still a little tight, but it was still comfortable. It was a really comfortable material. But so typically in a hoodie, it's like a large.
Yeah, okay. I always buy an XL because then you can use it as a blanket as well.
You can always put it in the dryer.
Yep.
All right. From Redacted, from Cleavage Cam, thank you guys so much for joining us here on the show.
Don't embarrass your wife.
It's my job. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great night, everyone.